Situated in the center of Europe, Switzerland is a patchwork of the old and new. A country best known for its timekeeping and its chocolates. This country is also famous for its spectacular alpine mountains, lakes, and streams. And at the center of it all is a waterfront city of Lucerne. And every year, one of the world's premier rowing regattas takes place here on a lake called the Rotsee. It means the Red Lake. And for a pair of Canadians, the Rotsee is the site of the rowing showdown at Lucerne. Welcome to Lucerne, Switzerland, where the final World Cup rowing regatta of the season is taking place. I'm Keith Wells. Over the next half hour, we're going to focus on two of the top rowers in the world who are taking part in this event. Canadians Marnie, McBean, and Silken, Laumann. This isn't just the final World Cup rowing regatta of the season, but whoever finishes ahead here between the two Canadians will likely win Canada's lone seat at the World Championship in the single sculls event. It's the rowing showdown at Lucerne. It's coming up after this.
I've done a lot of bad things in my life to gain acceptance. There was the beehive, hot pants, and who could forget? The dentist, the doctor, the accountant. Now that I'm a little older and wiser, I've realized if you want to be accepted, just be yourself and carry one of these.
No other card is accepted in more places worldwide than MasterCard. Not Visa, not American Express.
I guess I could use another card, but I don't.
MasterCard, your card for life.
Okay, I'm the new kid on the block. Mr. Duracell, Mr. Energizer.
You think you're better than me?
I'm long-lasting, too, and I've got more. At least 25 times more life in me. All I need is a quick boost.
Hey, Duracell, Energizer, Pure Energy is here. Canada's first mercury-free alkaline battery that's rechargeable.
Whoa! Pure Energy!
Ooh, we got a live one here.
Two of the best rowers in the world, two Canadians, two teammates who happen to be vying for Canada's one seat at the World Championships in the single scull event. The showdown between Marnie, McBean, and Silken, Laumann is taking place here in Switzerland, but it really got underway earlier this past year on Elk Lake in Victoria. Although it doesn't have the rowing history of the idyllic Rotsee in Switzerland, Elk Lake on Vancouver Island has quickly become one of the top rowing facilities in Canada. This is the home of the National High Performance Training Center, and this past spring, the home of both Silken Laumann and Marnie McBean. Early mornings like this are what helped Laumann, McBean, and the Canadian rowing team to a 5-medal performance at the 1992 Summer Olympics. Silken Laumann was a bronze medal winner at those games, the Mississauga native now living in Victoria, in her 11th year on the national team. Bronze in Spain in the women's single sculls. Laumann was also a bronze medal winner in the double sculls at the 1984 Summer Olympics. But Barcelona is where Laumann captured the hearts and imagination of all Canadians. Leg injury prior to the Olympics required 5 operations within a 10-day span.
Here comes Silken. Silken will get the bronze medal ahead of Ann Martin. What a race for Silken Laumann.
Her courageous comeback for a bronze medal at Lake Banyuls has become part of Canadian sporting lore. Marnie McBean's performance at Barcelona was largely overshadowed by the Silken Laumann story. The Toronto native winning 2 gold medals at the Olympics, one in the 8s and one in the pairs. Success in the sweep events eventually led McBean to the sculls, a move that won her silver at the 1993 World Championships. McBean has been on the national team for only 5 years, but has quickly become one of the top performers in the sport. While half of the Olympians from '92 retired or took the year off like Silken Laumann, McBean has continued training since winning the Spanish gold.
McBean and Heddle have won more gold for Canada. Too close to
This past spring, McBean arrived in Victoria to continue training, only this time with teammate and rival Silken Laumann.
And it's been really good. It's been really positive to have another single sculler out there training with me and more on my same speed, because the men are a lot faster and the developmental women are slower, so it's been very positive. When I first went to Victoria in February, I think we were both trying to state something right off. I was trying to, make sure that I wasn't too slow. I'd been away for the winter, but I just sort of wanted to, I figured a couple weeks and I'd be, right up there with her, and I think she wanted to, let me know that her year off was no disadvantage.
McBean and Laumann were supposed to meet at the Canadian Rowing Nationals on Elk Lake in June, But the injury bug hit Laumann once again, a rib injury forcing the showdown with McBean onto the World Cup circuit.
I've been hurting for a couple months now, and I just had a bone scan done yesterday and found out that 2 of my ribs were cracked, so that's going to mean some time off.
I was sad when I heard it because there's always things you want to do in your life. It's either demons of the closet or goals that you have to set, and you know, when you never actually meet them, they never go away. And there'd be no glory in winning a race. I think that the best people aren't there.
So let's talk a bit about the rivalry between you and Marnie. This is an interesting showdown here in Lucerne. You're used to challenges like this.
It's not a really new situation. It's something having really strong competition in Canada is something I haven't had in the last few years, but I have had it before.
But you're not ready to relinquish the crown just yet?
Well, I'm going to fight for it, that's for sure, yes. I still have some goals in my rowing, and I guess my biggest goal revolves around the next Olympics, and I've been able to win World Championships and World Cups in rowing, but I haven't won the Olympic gold medal yet. And so it's something that I really want to do still, and I envision it in the single, and so that's going to be the thing that motivates me and drives me on. And you know, the fact that there's competition, it's not going to scare me away from it.
The thing is, we're friends and we get along really well, but we both want something, and there's only one of it. There's only one of us can get it. So, you know, and as much as we get along, and you know, there's lots of humor between us, and we can joke, we can discuss, you know, how the day's going or how the competition's going, that sort of thing. I can say, you know, you might want to watch out for these people. I've raced them, I mean, whatever. But you know, there's at times there's just a little tension. You know, sometimes we don't talk about times, or you know, if she's talking with Brian, our coach, I'll sort of give her space, and she does the same for me. So there's sort of a tension, but it's not brooding or festering or anything like that. I think it's a really healthy kind of tension.
Coming up next, semi-final highlights as a rowing showdown at Lucerne continues.
A food like this could only come from the makers of Pedigree. Pedigree dry with chicken and rice. It's very digestible, gives my dogs concentrated energy, and even my fussiest eaters love the taste. I really recommend it.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top readers.
Future Pontiac Grand Prix driver. Pontiac Grand Prix. Built for drivers.
You started out as your mama's boy. You know that's no lie. Knew from the day you came, you were bound to satisfy. It might be the way you walk, way you comb your hair. It might be something else. Makes them all stop and stare. 'Cause you're the man. Whoa, yeah, you're the man.
TT&Co Sport. Affordably priced and only at Tip Top Tailors.
The most important thing to me is satisfied customers. We want to make sure that you enjoy a great night's sleep. Our staff are knowledgeable and well-trained, and we carry one of the largest selections of mattresses in Canada. But sometimes you just don't know which mattress will be the most comfortable until you've slept on it for a few nights. That's where our 60-night comfort guarantee comes in. You have 60 nights to make sure that it's just right, or exchange it hassle-free.
Imagine giving your cat a gourmet meal every night. Well, with Whiskas Supreme, you can. Individual gourmet meals, each cooked délicatement in its own juices. Whiskas Supreme. After Supreme, mes chéris, no other food will do. Whiskas Supreme, for the gourmet in your cat.
Picturesque Lucerne and good examples of medieval architecture along the Lucerne waterway. Quaint alleys, squares, and arcades all in close vicinity. As is one of the world's most famous monuments, the Dying Lion of Lucerne. Commemorating Swiss heroism in battle, the lion bravely protects the Swiss shield. Mark Twain called it the saddest and most compassionate piece of rock on Earth. This is a beautiful Hotel Schweizerhof here in Lucerne, Switzerland. At one time, Tolstoy stayed here, as did Mark Twain on his travels through Europe at the turn of the century. Samuel T. Clemens would have had a real appreciation for this Marnie McBean Silken Laumann story, which happened to get even better when the rowers took off to Europe to begin the World Cup races in June. The World Cup rowing season got underway on May 22nd in Duisburg, Germany. From a field of 33, Marnie McBean finishes first ahead of defending champion Annelies Bredel of Belgium. Race 2 in Paris 4 weeks later, Marnie McBean finishes in 5th place. Silken Laumann announces that she'll be ready to race in a non-World Cup event in 1 week. Laumann makes a stunning return to international rowing in Amsterdam as she wins her first regatta since the 1992 Summer Olympics. McBean doesn't take part. The World Cup trail winds to England in early July in the annual Henley Regatta. Marnie McBean wins on the Thames. Silken Laumann stays on the dock. The long-anticipated Showdown is forced to Lucerne, Switzerland, 4th and final World Cup regatta of the season. Laumann and McBean have proven themselves to be two of the top single scullers in the world this year. Brian Richardson is a head coach of the Canadian national rowing team. He's a man who will ultimately decide who gets the single seat at the Worlds, Laumann or McBean. Brian Richardson has his sights set on the 1996 Summer Olympics. But before he takes the Canadian team to Atlanta, he needs to know who's the fastest woman in the single sculls. Tough decision between these two. He's decided to let them decide for themselves.
There's only one simple criteria, and that is the fastest will get the job at the World Championship. And here in Lucerne, we've got the perfect opportunity on a very, very good course to see just who is the fastest.
It's a bit unfortunate for you, being the head coach of this team, happen to have two of the best in the world, and you can only send one to the championship.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. It's a great feeling having two great athletes to work with, but I guess that's the rules of FISA at the moment, that each country's only allowed one entry. So the loser or the runner-up here will get the opportunity to compete in a different event. We're certainly hoping they'll both be at the World Championships.
Richardson came from Australia to rowing Canada after British-born coach Mike Spracklin left the Canadian Olympic team following the '92 games. The Aussie has had to do quite a balancing act in the case of Laumann and McBean, staying close to each racer, pushing them to beat each other. Is it as simple as the one that does better here gets the seat at Indianapolis?
Yes, I mean, there could be all sorts of other situations, but hopefully it will be clear-cut here, and the winner will take the prize and go to Indianapolis.
Hopefully it's clear-cut, otherwise I don't envy the decision you have to make.
No, it's one of those. It'd be a tough one if you had to make it on other criteria, but they're great competitors.
Jetzt dann gleich auf der Bahn Nummer 6 die zweite Mannschaft des italienischen Ruderverbandes. Herr Stefan von der Firma Enz, bitte ins Vermittlungszentrum. Stefan.
Final preparations for the rowers as they get ready for the semi-finals. Two semi-finals taking place, Laumann and McBean racing in the same heat. Top two finishers advancing directly to the final. So here we go, the start of the women's singles semi-final at the Rotsey Regatta. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on Silken Laumann racing out of lane number 4. And right beside her in lane number 3, Marnie McBean. And they're underway in this 2,000-meter test. 6 racers taking part. Silken Laumann, Marnie McBean right in the middle of the pack. These two will get a good race out of Catherine Boron from Germany. She's racing out of lane number 6, the near lane. She finished second behind McBean on the Thames earlier in the World Cup season. Joining me for this race and for the final is Marilyn Copeland, former manager of the national rowing team. Welcome, Marilyn. You've been following these racers around on the World Cup Tour, these rivals. They're both healthy.
Yes, in fact, Silken's recovered nicely from her 2 stress fractures that she suffered earlier in the season. I don't really think it's a rivalry as much as an intense competition. Both of these women want to represent Canada in that one spot at the Worlds.
And as they head towards the 1,000-meter mark, Silken Laumann racing very well at this point. A quick start for her. It's always deceiving, the angles here, but you can tell at the 1,000-meter mark that Silken Laumann has taken a substantial lead ahead of Marnie McBean and ahead of Catherine Boron from Germany.
Now, Marnie is only 1 second behind, but this Boron, she is a pretty fierce competitor, and I think we can expect a good race from her as well. You look at the expression on Silken's face. Rowing looks so easy, but look at the pain there.
Laumann, of course, a 1991 winner of this race. She won at Amsterdam in a non-World Cup race earlier this past season. Not the most competitive field there, but she looks great in this race, as does Marnie McBean.
The one thing about this Rotsey course is it's a fair course, and that's one of the reasons why all these international competitors, the best in the world, turn up for this race. It's fair for everyone. There's no currents in any particular lane, so the racers all feel they're treated fair and equal.
750 meters to go. Silken Laumann still on top. Catherine Boron from Germany in third. Marnie McBean sitting in second place. It's obvious from these shots you can see how much Silken Laumann puts into every stroke. It's no surprise that she suffered that overtraining injury earlier this past year.
Silken does row through pain. It's her advantage and her disadvantage. The disadvantage being that it leads to injury, but the advantage is it gives her a mental toughness that is one of the reasons why she's been so successful.
And she's having some great success here as we head into the final strokes at the semifinal. Silken Laumann on top. Marnie McBean was 1.3 seconds behind at the halfway mark of this race, but she appears to have made some of that up.
Now, if you look at Marnie, she's picking it up there, her stroke rate. Silken's going to have to really pull to hang on to her position.
To the finish line, Silken Laumann still on top. Marnie McBean making it close. And as they come to the line, it is Silken Laumann finishing in first place, but just a fraction of a second ahead of Marnie McBean. There was some question about Silken Laumann's health, but she is ready.
Silken and Marnie have trained 3 times a day for the past 6 months to prepare for this event. And to have that race end that closely, it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to win that final. It could go either way.
Silken Laumann winning the heat, but only a quarter of a second ahead of Marnie McBean. Catherine Boron from Germany coming in third place. Silken Laumann setting a new course record at the Rotsey, 7 minutes, 26.42 seconds. Coming up next, the World Cup final, McBean against Laumann, as the showdown continues.
Campbell's introduces a new line of soups called home cooking.
Oh, hi there, excuse me. Yeah, want to try a taste test? Yeah, ordinary mushroom soup versus this new one.
Oh, the new one tastes better.
But you didn't taste it.
Look at those big, juicy pieces of mushroom.
Well, it is a taste test.
Doesn't that look delicious?
Taste it.
What's the name of this soup? It's New Home Cooking from Campbell's. So I'll buy it.
I get paid by the taste.
Oh. I knew it. I saw it.
Campbell's new home cooking soup. See how it tastes.
Cashton, where mystical and musical meet together in perfect harmony. Friday, December 9th at Vogue Theater. Witness the power of Cashton live. With special guests Ron Hines and Lenny Gallant. For one night, you'll see ancient heritage with a contemporary spin. Get your tickets now. Cashton's new release, Opera Toutan, in stores everywhere. Presented by BCTV and the Vancouver Sun.
If you'd rather look like this and not like this, fix your hair. Fix your hair with HRS. HRS has the hair assimilation process. Not a wig, not a transplant, but a non-surgical method of replacing lost hair. Replace a bald crown. Reestablish a frontal hairline. It's not growing hair, but it looks just like it. Hair assimilation can fix your hair. Swim, exercise, work out, sweat, wash and blow dry, and do it all again. Hair assimilation from HRS. The next best thing to growing hair. The best way to fix your hair.
For a free brochure, call now. Operators are standing by. Phone 1-800-409-1993.
Church bells break the silence on Sunday morning in Lucerne. The final day of racing about to get underway at the Rotsey. McBean and Laumann ready. The showdown to finally begin. Top rowers in the world circle Lucerne on their World Cup calendar every year. It is the premier event on the circuit, and here we have the top 6 single scullers in the women's class ready for the women's final. Run through the order here as they get underway. Catherine Boron from Germany on the far side in lane 1. Annelies Bredel, the World Cup winner from last year, beside her. Silken Laumann racing out of lane 3. Elizabeth Lipa, the gold medalist from Barcelona, in lane number 4. Then it's Marnie McBean from Canada and Trina Hansen from Denmark in lane number 6.
Lipa's gotten off to a very fast start. She likes to gain control as quickly as possible in the race and then try to maintain it. Marnie McBean won't be frightened of that technique, though, because she's already raced her successfully at the Henley Regatta.
Angles always deceiving. On the far side, Catherine Boron in shell number 1, Laumann in 3. Then number 4, Elizabeth Lipa from Romania. She's the one that finished far ahead of Silken Laumann. And Annelies Bredel at the Olympics in Barcelona. She's rowing well, as is Marnie McBean, sitting in position number 4 right now. She seems to be stroking well.
Look at the layback that Silken has there. Silken just puts everything into that stroke. Notice how fast her hands get out and back up to the catch so that she doesn't waste any time.
Of course, Silken Laumann stealing a glance over towards Marnie McBean. They're really aware of where each other is on the course.
They sure are. But if you look, Lipa is pulling ahead there, and neither Marnie or Silken are going to allow that to happen.
750 meters into the course. Silken Laumann is starting to turn it on. Before the race, we heard her talking with head coach Brian Richardson, and she said that around the 800-meter mark, she really wanted to try and turn it up a notch.
This is the body of the race, though, and this is where they're going to be assessing each other, trying to figure out what they're going to have to do to win this race. And I think in the last 250 meters, we're going to see some pretty good racing.
It's pretty good right now. Silken Laumann still on top, looking over to check on Marnie McBean, the World Cup leader. We haven't talked much about the fact that Marnie McBean is on top of the World Cup standings right now. She leads with 38 points, just ahead of Annelies Bredel of Belgium. Here we go to the 1,000-meter mark. Silken Laumann with a full 1 boat length lead on the field. She looks great, 1.64 seconds ahead of Catherine Boron from Romania. Marnie McBean just over 2 seconds behind.
What incredible pressure for these two athletes, Marnie and Silken. They've worked so hard, and they are so close.
Everyone expecting a lot from the Canadians. Silken Laumann under all kinds of pressure, back on the World Cup tour. Imagine the atmospheres of pressure that the World Cup leader Marnie McBean is under at this point, trying to defend her title, trying to win Canada's lone seat.
With all the ways that I could put pressure on myself, you know, whether I will or won't be the World Cup champion and whether I will or won't beat Silken, if I go down the course thinking about that, I'm not going to have my best race. And for me, the important thing is to go from 0 to 2,000 meters as fast as I can.
She's trying to go as fast as she can right now. The final 750 meters of this showdown at Lucerne. Silken Laumann still on top. She set a record in her semifinal on the Rotsey, and she's on a record pace once again.
Silken's pulling away from the rest of the group and taking Marnie with her, showing that the Canadians are the best in the world.
Right now, Silken Laumann still on top. Really only 3 boats are involved here. Laumann, McBean, and Catherine Boron. Here we go towards the finish.
The grand lady of the singles sculls takes it again. She will win this race.
And it looks like Silken Laumann will hang on here. A big margin over second place, Marnie McBean. And here we go to the finish line. And Silken Laumann will win the showdown at Lucerne. Marnie McBean comes in second. Catherine Boron from Germany in third. Complete exhaustion for Silken Laumann, but how happy she must be coming back to the World Cup Tour. And what a finish here in Lucerne.
Silken proved what the Europeans say. She is definitely the grand lady of the single sculls.
And what convincing fashion. Look at the margin over Marnie McBean. Over 2 seconds. Marnie McBean coming in second place, but with that second place finish, Marnie McBean wins the World Cup Championship. Brian Richardson happy as he looks on. His rowers have finished first and second here, and that time by Silken Laumann takes 9 seconds off the course record that she set in the semi-final. Her convincing win over Marnie McBean makes the decision easier for head coach Brian Richardson, which Canadian will represent Canada at the World Championships.
That's great. I mean, to come 1-2, it's tough for the person who gets the second place, but Marnie gets the World Cup, which is a pretty amazing performance by two Canadian athletes. To be first and second here, and one of them wins the World Cup. Yeah.
And what a race.
Oh. Well, that's what I was hoping for, that it would be just a great race and really, really close, and that they both got to race to their best.
And back on the dock, some congratulations from husband John Wallace, former Olympic gold medalist, and from the head coach. Silken, fantastic race. Congratulations.
Thanks, Keith.
Tell us about it. Our new record time here at the Rutsey.
Well, I'm still in a bit of a fatigue blur, but it was a good race. It was fast conditions, a following wind, so I had to get up pretty quick. And I think I led most of the way. I think the Romanian took a bit of a lead, and I just worked away at her. Marnie was fighting it out with Boron and pushing on to me, putting some pressure on me the last 1,000 meters. So it was a good row.
It's obvious that you're healthy and that you were ready for this race.
Well, I had to be ready for this race, so I got ready, and I am healthy now, and the ribs healed really nicely, and I'm looking forward to a even better race in Indianapolis.
How much did the Showdown have to do with it? Did that really get you worked up before the race?
Well, yeah, it's certainly a pressure. It's always on your mind, but it's really important to keep it secondary to the race itself, and I think I did a pretty good job of that. Sometimes it was a little bit of a distraction, but I tried not to make it too much of a distraction. I think Marnie was pleased with her race. She rode a good time, a lot of respect for her. She gave me a good race for my money.
Congratulations, good luck at the World Championships.
Thanks very much, Keith.
And one final look at the standings at the Rutsey Regatta. Silken Laumann with a record time, 7 minutes, 17.09 seconds, as she finishes ahead of World Cup champion Marnie McBean, coming in third place, Catherine Boron from Germany. So that's a story from the final World Cup rowing regatta of the season as Silken Laumann comes through at the Showdown at Lucerne. And another storybook ending for Silken Laumann as she comes through against the World Cup champion Marnie McBean. No doubt we'll hear more from both of these athletes, though, as we head towards the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta. Thanks for joining us. So long from Lucerne.
Air transportation for the crew supplied by Air Canada with non-stop service between Toronto and Zurich.